Hi everybody, I'm getting ready to make some arroz con pollo. This is Mexican style chicken and rice. Now I grew up with this dish. My mom prepared it often. I think it's because it's so good, it's nutritious, and it's an inexpensive dish to prepare. Now I've got 4 chicken legs and I have 2 chicken thighs. And I'm gonna be using my new cleaver. I'll put a link below if you wanna know which kind I'm using, okay? Now I usually remove the skin off of the chicken thighs because I don't want this dish to be greasy. I'm gonna cut this in half. So I'm just gonna whack it right in the middle and cut it into 2 pieces. Just like that. Very easy because I don't like big clunky thighs. I've got 1 more leg right here. See? I have removed the tips from my legs because I don't like this extra little piece of bone here. I just think it's a waste of space. So now I'm gonna clean up my area and then we're gonna head to the stove. So before I move on with my chicken, I'm gonna brown my rice. I'm gonna add 1.5 tablespoons of oil in here. This is canola oil. You can use any kind of oil that you want. And I'm gonna add my rice. I have 1.5 cups of jasmine rice. And I'm gonna brown it. Now it takes a few minutes, that's why I usually brown it and then just set it aside so that I don't have to waste any time later. Now you wanna make sure that you rinse your rice really well before you put it into your skillet because you don't want it to be starchy later. Now as you can see, my rice is a light golden color. I'm gonna set it aside until I'm ready to use it. So I'm gonna be using this brazier to prepare my arroz con pollo and I've got it nice and hot. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of canola oil. Now that the oil is nice and hot, I'm gonna add my chicken. Now you wanna make sure that it's nice and hot because you wanna sear your chicken. That's where the flavor's at. Now you don't wanna cover your chicken because you don't wanna create any steam. You wanna leave the lid off. I'm gonna sprinkle just a little bit of salt before I flip it over. Now I'm gonna be flipping it over in about 3 minutes because you want it nice and golden brown from the bottom. So it's been about 3 minutes. Now it's time to flip it over. See how it's nice and golden from the bottom? So I'm gonna sprinkle a little salt on this side and I'm also gonna give it another 3 minutes. Now all those golden bits at the bottom is what's gonna give this arroz con pollo a beautiful, delicious flavor. And we have just the right amount of grease at the bottom. That's why it's important not to leave all the skin on the chicken because then you'll have too much grease in here. Now I'm gonna add my onions. I have 1/4 of a small onion and I have 2 green onions. Now I like the combination of both because of the flavor and also because my mom always, prepared her arroz con pollo like that. And now I do the same thing. So I'm gonna move it around like this just a little bit until the onions are nice and translucent. Now I'm gonna add my celery. I have 1 large celery rib and I cut it up into really small pieces. And I've got 1/4 of a green bell pepper. Now I usually cut it up into big pieces like this because if you have somebody in your family who doesn't like pepper, you can always remove it very easy. And I've got 1 medium-sized carrot and I've cut it up into small pieces. If you're lucky enough to get some of that carrot in your bowl, then you're gonna love it because it adds just a little bit of sweetness. I have 1 serrano pepper. I'm gonna add it right there because that's my Ron's. He loves it in here. So while my vegetables are simmering on the stove, I'm gonna grind my spices. I have 1 teaspoon of whole cumin, 1 teaspoon of peppercorns, and I've got 3 large garlic cloves. The freshly ground is what gives this dish its authentic flavor. Just delicious. And I'm gonna add just a little bit of salt in here. And now I'm gonna grind everything up really good. So I'm done grinding my spices. Look at this. I'm gonna add 1/2 cup of water in here. And I'm gonna bring it all in together. So now I'm just gonna set this aside until I'm ready to use it. All my vegetables are nice and translucent, just perfect. Now I'm gonna add my tomato sauce. I'm gonna add 1 can of tomato sauce. So I'm gonna move it around for a little bit because I want it to release its flavor in here. The flavor just changes when it sizzles in there for just a little bit. Now I'm gonna add 1 cup of my canned tomatoes. 1 cup is good. And I'm gonna add all the spices from my molcajete. Looks beautiful. And I'm gonna add a very hot water. Now I don't like to change the temperature. That's why I add hot water. And I have 1.5 tablespoons of chicken bouillon. This will just give it another kick. So now that I have brought everything in together really nice, see, look at this. I'm gonna replace my lid and I'm gonna let it simmer on low for about 10 minutes. Let's take a look. Oh, this is looking perfect. Now it's time for me to add my potato. I have 1 medium-sized russet potato, and I'm gonna cut it up into pieces like this. This is the way my mama always did it. Now you don't want them too big, just a medium small, so they can cook together with the rice that I'm about to put in here. And that's perfect. Now I'm gonna add my rice. Here's my golden rice. They go in together, the rice and the potatoes. Now you don't want it at a rolling boil. You just want it set on low because you want a little bubble here and a little bubble there, and making sure that your rice and your potatoes are cooked perfectly. Now I'm gonna add my cilantro. You can add parsley if you don't wanna add cilantro, but it's just so good in here. Now this would be a good time for you to taste it. Make sure that it's okay. If you think you need to add salt, I'm gonna add just a little bit of salt in here. You can adjust it, add as much as you think that it needs. You see how it's at a low bubble? Now I'm gonna replace my lid and I'm gonna let it cook anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes until the potatoes and rice are cooked perfectly. So my timer just went off. It's been 18 minutes. Now I'm gonna remove the lid. Oh, look at that. I'm gonna turn off the heat. Looks wonderful. I'm gonna replace the lid and I'm gonna let it sit like that for 10 minutes before I serve. Look at this. Beautiful. Now I made some corn tortillas. I usually make flour tortillas, but my Ron wanted some corn tortillas today. So here they are. Now I like to put a little bit of butter on them. This is how my mama always does it. Now roll it up. Now it's time for the taste test. The seasoning is out of this world. And now my iced tea. Oh my goodness, this is out of this world. So this is my arroz con pollo. If you like my recipe, give me a thumbs up. Send me a comment and tell me what you think. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. It's free. Thank you.